It is Friday evening, June 12, 2026, and this is our monthly update for the SOXL challenge. I have a major announcement to start this video. For the very first time ever, my SOXL portfolio has crossed the $200,000 milestone. Actually, my portfolio jumped to more than $206,000 today. That is almost $42,000 more than last month's value of $163,800. And the total return? An incredible 900%. Let me say that again. 900% returns on my original investment. This is the power of disciplined, long-term investing in action. I'm sharing my SOXL journey with you, covering the past 2 years and 6 months since December 2023. I started this SOXL challenge with just $500 in December 2023. This SOXL challenge is essentially my investing diary, documenting that about $500 a month of SOXL investment can potentially create multi-million dollars in 30 years. The current value of $206,000 is a stepping stone toward multi-millions and powerfully demonstrates the magic of compound interest over 30 years. Just think about where this could be in another 25 years. SOXL closed today at $234, marking a significant jump from last month's $186. That is a 26% gain in just 1 month. But before we celebrate too loudly, let me walk you through the complete picture, because this month has been one of the most dramatic and volatile periods we have ever experienced. Looking back at the bigger picture, we saw SOXL peak at $74.21 on January 4, 2022, followed by the devastating crash to just $6.21 on October 13, 2022. Then we saw SOXL peak at $70 on July 11, 2024, followed by that brutal crash to just $7.23 on April 7, 2025. The recovery that followed was absolutely remarkable. SOXL climbed all the way to around $72 not once, not twice, but 3 times. First on January 29, 2026, second on February 12, and third on February 25, 2026. Each time it failed to break above the previous 2022 peak of $74. Then SOXL plunged to $39 on March 30, 2026 during the Iran war crisis. After touching the SMA 200 green line on March 30, SOXL shot straight up since March 31, 2026. On April 10, 2026, SOXL finally surpassed the previous January 2022 peak of $74. It took 4 years and 3 months to reach a new all-time high from the 2022 peak. This teaches us a powerful and essential lesson: SOXL will eventually post new all-time high prices if we are willing to wait for 4 years or more. But here's where this month gets truly extraordinary. SOXL hit a brand new all-time high price of $284 on June 3, 2026. Think about what that number represents. $284 is 39 times the cycle low of $7.23 from April 7, 2025, when this new SOXL cycle started. From $7.23 to $284 in just over 14 months. That is an almost incomprehensible return for anyone who bought near the bottom. But here's the thing about SOXL that every investor in this asset must understand deeply. The volatility is absolutely relentless in both directions. On March 30, 2026, SOXL lost 46% from $72 down to $39 within just a few weeks. Then this week on June 9, 2026, SOXL lost another 45% from $284 down to $157 within just a few days. Let me repeat that. 45% gone in just a few days. Here is the important context though. Historically, a 45% drawdown by itself is not typically sufficient to end a SOXL cycle. And true to form, SOXL rebounded powerfully right away. This is the nature of SOXL investing. Wild swings in both directions within a larger upward trend. We should absolutely expect and prepare mentally for several more of these gut-wrenching pullbacks during the remaining months of 2026. From this SOXL daily chart at Finviz, the characteristic pattern is crystal clear: extreme volatility within a strong medium to long-term rising trend. SOXL now trades comfortably above all moving average lines, including its SMA 20, SMA 50, SMA 200 lines, and this key support line. Let me share my track record of predictions with you because I think it builds important context. 3 months ago in my March update, I predicted that SOXL would eventually push above the $72 double top line within a few months. SOXL broke through that $72 double top resistance line on April 10th. Then last month, I predicted that SOXL would push above the recent high of $191. That happened too. Now if you ask my opinion about whether SOXL will push above the all-time high of $284, my honest answer is yes. I think SOXL can go much higher than $284 over the next 6 months. That is why I have not sold any SOXL shares yet. However, since this is purely my personal opinion based on historical patterns, please do not blindly follow what I mention here. This is not financial advice, and every investor must make their own decisions based on their own research and risk tolerance. Let's examine the SOXX daily chart in detail. SOXX is $596 today, sitting just below the all-time high of $618 reached last week on June 3rd. For those new to the channel, SOXL is a triple leveraged ETF that magnifies the daily movements of SOXX, which tracks leading U.S. semiconductor companies such as Micron, AMD, Broadcom, Intel, Marvell, and Nvidia. Today, SOXX sits significantly above both the SMA 50 purple line and the SMA 200 green line. Since SOXX has broken above these critical levels, let's add both the SMA 5 blue line and the SMA 20 black line to our analysis for better context. You can easily see that SOXX has been running far above the SMA 20 black line. SOXX has been riding just above the SMA 5 blue line most of the time since April 1st. We had 2 major pullbacks this month alone, first on May 19th and second on June 9th. In both cases, SOXX was able to rebound near the SMA 20 black line. This is actually a very healthy pattern. The pullbacks are happening, but buyers are stepping in at key support levels. Therefore, even if those pullbacks happen again in the remaining months of 2026, I fully expect that SOXX will stay above the SMA 20 black line or at least the SMA 50 purple line for some time. Since SOXX is now positioned above the SMA 50 purple line, we have a strong probability of riding above this level for an extended period, just as we witnessed the sustained rise of SOXX last year from April 2025 through November 2025. On this weekly chart, SOXX has maintained its position above the SMA 20 black line since May 2025, demonstrating truly remarkable institutional strength. Even more impressive, SOXX has stayed above the SMA 200 green line most of the time since November 2010, spanning 16 years. I fully expect this powerful bullish pattern to continue for many more years. Now let's review my current holdings. I am not adding new shares this month since I have already invested $20,420 during the first 2 years of this challenge. Going forward, I am sticking to my plan of approximately $7,000 in annual investments. In my Roth IRA, I am holding 354 shares at an average cost of $24.71. The current value is more than $83,000 with unrealized gains of more than $74,000, representing an amazing 850% return. My individual taxable account holds 525 shares with a current market value of more than $123,000 with unrealized gains of more than $111,000, representing a phenomenal 957% return. Combined, that is 879 total shares worth more than $206,000, significantly up from last month's $163,800. That is an increase of $42,000 in just 1 month. The combined unrealized gains total about $185,000 by investing a combined total of only $20,420, representing a spectacular 906% return. To put this in perspective, for every $1 I invested, I now have $10 in return. That is the SOXL surge strategy working exactly as designed. My core philosophy has not changed one bit. I will buy and sell based on the SOXL surge strategy, a term I coined back in 2024 to describe my systematic approach to trading SOXL. It is a long-term swing approach tied to SOXX trends based on the semiconductor sector's pronounced business cycles. The strategy has 8 key characteristics and actionable plans that guide all my decisions. For more details, you can watch my dedicated video titled SOXL Surge Strategy. Looking at the historical pattern on this weekly SOXL chart, major dips and peaks appear every 2 to 4 years with remarkable consistency. We had major dips at 33 cents in 2011, 99 cents in 2016, $3.57 in 2020, $6.21 in 2022, and $7.23 in 2025. Each bottom is progressively higher than the previous bottom. This is a crucial observation. Similarly, major peak prices also trend higher in each cycle: $1.26 in 2011, $2.83 in 2015, $22.07 in 2020, $74.21 in 2022, $70.08 in 2024, and most recently $284 on June 1, 2026. I expect the peak price in this current cycle will be substantially higher than $284. In this current cycle, my initial plan was to sell a small portion of SOXL when SOXX reaches about $500, or in October 2026, whichever came first. Although SOXX has already surpassed $500 and is sitting at $596 today, I have not sold any SOXL yet. As you can see in my video titled SOXL Surge Strategy, SOXL can potentially reach anywhere in a very broad range from $62 on the low end to $484 on the high end. Although that range goes all the way up to $484, I actually think SOXL can go much higher than $300 in this cycle. So I want to wait several more months before selling any SOXL position. My broader investing strategy remains completely unchanged. I contribute $7,000 annually into my Roth IRA to buy SOXL for 30 years. I use the SOXL surge strategy as my framework. I avoid margin trading entirely to manage risk more conservatively. The focus is not on perfectly timing the market, but on using SOXL's extreme volatility strategically to build long-term gains over time. Although the semiconductor sector still has pronounced cycles, AI is fundamentally changing those cycles from the classic 2 to 4 year boom-bust model to a secular growth plus cycle model. The smartest stance is to expect longer upcycles, less uniform cyclicality, and occasional drawdowns that are still very real and very painful when they happen. A 45% drawdown in a few days, like we just experienced, is a perfect example. Despite the volatility we are experiencing, my conviction in semiconductors remains absolutely rock solid. AI, cloud computing, and high-performance computing are still in the very early innings of a massive multi-decade transformation. Patient investors who stay disciplined through the inevitable ups and downs will likely be rewarded with substantial long-term capital appreciation. That is your June SOXL Challenge update. We crossed $200,000 for the first time, delivered 906% total returns, and watched SOXL hit a new all-time high of $284 before pulling back sharply. The volatility is real, but so are the gains. We are in this for the marathon, not the sprint. If this update added value for you, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Stay disciplined, stay patient, and keep building that wealth mindset. I will catch you next month. Peace out, SOXL family.